Shays' Rebellion might be best considered a catalyst leading to the Constitutional Convention. Something was going to happen eventually. Shays' Rebellion was just a thing that pushed it through. Many saw this as a crisis that needed to be fixed. For example, Alexander Hamilton called for a national convention to revise the Articles of Confederation. And in 1787, a convention in Philadelphia was called. George Washington actually presided over this convention. 12 of the 13 states showed up. Rhode Island refused. Interestingly, people like Thomas Paine thought that this was a conspiracy to remove the Articles of Confederation, even though they said that it was just for the purposes of revising. So we have Hamilton, we have Washington there, James Madison is going to be there, and he's the most important. He's the one that brought the most ideas, which would then work as a baseline that the delegates can compromise over. There were two assumptions that need to be acknowledged about the convention. The first was that once the decision was made to abandon the Articles of Confederation altogether and completely replace them, which, by the way, makes this a revolutionary act. They're getting rid of one government and creating a whole new one. The first assumption is that the national government had to have direct authority over the citizens rather than authority through the states, which is also the second assumption, which is that the national government derives its legitimacy from the people and not from the states. So this is why we get the famous line at the beginning that says, "We the people of the United States of America, not we the states." That was actually changed from the first draft. So the Constitution is supposed to be the voice of the people. This kind of ties into that Locke idea of the consent of the governed, that governments are instituted among men in order to protect their rights. Well, this is the Constitution now being among the people. It also implements the idea of federalism, that the powers will be divided among national, state, and local branches. Under the new Constitution, the national government will have the power to collect taxes, to borrow money, to regulate money, regulate commerce between the states, fund an army and navy, and make laws about the citizens. Meanwhile, they take away the power of states to print their own money, to make treaties, to wage war, and to levy tariffs. So all of this is about centralizing a bit of control, taking it away from the states so that the government can function more efficiently. When Madison comes to the Constitutional Convention, he brings his new plan, which he called the Virginia Plan. Under this plan, first of all, he had to scrap the entire idea of revising the Articles and just create a new Constitution altogether. This would be a new national government with a supreme legislature, and the legislature would be divided into two houses, an upper house and a lower house. So we call this bicameral. The lower house would be voted on by the people, and the upper house would be voted on by the state legislatures, but in both houses, it would be decided by population size. In response to this, the smaller states proposed the New Jersey Plan, which essentially keep the same structure. Each state would get one vote, and it would be decided upon by the states. So we have these two sides that are now going to have to be forced to come together. And what they come up with is called the Great Compromise, sometimes called the Connecticut Compromise. But the Great Compromise sort of is a compromise between the two plans. And everybody kind of saw this coming. In the upper house, the small states get their New Jersey Plan. The Senate becomes equal representation, and each state gets 2 votes per state, and those are appointed by the state legislature. In the lower house, the House of Representatives, will be based on population size, and the people can directly vote for the House of Representatives. So that's where we get the legislative branch that we have today.